does burgers and falafels sound weird? Like, will people buy that concept? Why are you doing burgers and falafels? And so the concept just grew from strictly falafels from Jordan with those seasonings to burgers. Okay, how do we make burgers make sense? Well, I'm from Oklahoma. I grew up in Oklahoma. Why don't we just say diner food from Oklahoma, street food from Jordan?
Okay.
It's a mixed mash of two, cuisines. Yeah. And so we do stuff that I used to eat in Oklahoma that you would find in diners, like burgers and onion rings and milkshakes. And
so there's a big diner culture in Oklahoma, or burger culture?
I would say...
I Am Consciously Curious, a podcast for those that are searching for meaning and fulfillment in their lives. My name is Victor Chan, and I'm on a mission to find out why people do what they do. I've interviewed white-collar to blue-collar, entrepreneurs to passion projects, and life is just too short to not produce meaningful work. Thanks for tuning in. Danny Sweis is in the studio. Good to be with you.
Thanks for having me.
How's the year going?
The year's going great. 2026?
2026.
Yeah, I mean...
Because it's flying by for me.
Yeah, it is. I mean, next week's Valentine's Day and Super Bowl just happened, and, January just, it flew by. It kicked our butts. It was a busy month. In the restaurant industry, you're just like...
It's usually slow, right?
Yeah, you're like, okay, let's get through the holidays, and then we can take a breath, and it just, I don't know, with New Year's Eve starting on the weekend, and so like New Year's Eve happened, then you had Friday, Saturday. It was like the busiest 2 days we'd ever had in business, and it's just like, well, that's weird. Like, well, maybe because it was the weekend, and it just continued. January kicked our ass, so... it's the year starting off in the right direction.
What do you think, like, what would you attribute that to? Like, what have you tried to make sense of it?
Well, I think it's multiple things. The weather's not that bad. There was a cold snap there, but, it wasn't like, 15 degrees and below for 30 days. It was, the weather would go up in the 20s, and that kind of felt nice.
Are you attributing, like, are a lot of your guests coming from the Uptown neighborhood?
During the weekday, yeah. During the weekends,
yeah.
Friday night, especially Saturday. We see a lot of the people coming from other neighborhoods.
Wow.
Because it's Saturday. You got the whole day off. Oh, let's go to that place that we've had on the list. Or, that's what I hear a lot is, oh, we've had you on the list for a long time. And it's like, I'm like, I know what you mean. My Google Maps is full of little flags everywhere.
Yeah.
I had to like create another account because every time you'd open Google Maps, it's just like the whole thing's covered in flags.
Yeah.
So, I think, good weather, I think, the price is pretty decent for going out with your family or multiple people. I think we do a good job doing some flavorful stuff. Consistency. The third party platforms has gone up.
Oh, okay.
It's just like that third, all the like
the delivery
DoorDash,
apps,
Uber. It just, in the beginning, I didn't really think too much about them. I thought, they're kind of a nuisance. And then, it just grew and grew and grew. And it's like, we implemented them because you have to. It's just a part of business nowadays. You have to have, for my style of restaurant, you need a delivery system that's there. And
I wonder if there's going to be a time where you get so consistent that it would be worth bringing on your own driver.
Yeah, I don't know, because they make it so
convenient.
It's not really priced that bad. There is like a stigma of, oh, you're going to give them 30%. Well, you can like sign up for the full benefit,
and to be like sponsored on the top of the
28%. Get into that certain thing, and you also don't have to. You can get into the 18% for deliveries and 6% for pickup, which is pretty reasonable. But I found that even at 25%, you're still doing okay, because it's bringing you customers you weren't going to get. It's bringing you business that wasn't there. Like maybe that customer would go, oh, it's not on DoorDash, so I'm just going to order through your website and pick it up. But most of the times they don't. They want, like, a good percentage of those deliveries are not going very far away. Like they're pretty close. I think in Chicago, after 6 o'clock, you don't want to move your car. Like, and so, like, if you want to drive to another neighborhood to
so
get
true.
food, you're like, am I going to lose my parking space? Like, I'll pay the $10 extra to get it delivered to me because
that's so
I'm
true.
paying to keep my car there. Like, there's several. It's not just like, oh, it's 7 blocks away, or it's only a 20-minute walk, or it's just like, do I want to lose my parking spot? You know, and so, you know, and then, you know, those guys. Those platforms, the more you cave into what they want to give you, what they want you to do, a higher cut for them, their marketing programs. You know, I don't go as far as buy one get one free because a lot of the times that's what they're pushing the most. They're like, do a buy one get one free. Do one. I'm like, I don't like that. I don't. You know, I don't know. It seems like too much.
Okay.
And
I didn't know that they get it makes so much sense that they get a cut even if it's just pickup, but because they built out their systems and you're ordering through them, does that incentivize you to put a pickup, you know, interface within the within the website at all? So they go straight to the source and you don't have to pay.
We tell them as much as we can, hey, if you're doing pickup, just order from our website. There's no fees. You don't even have to call in. Some people like to call in and say, hey, I'm calling in, or we'd like to call because we want to save you guys money. And that's great. And I appreciate that. But also, we don't have like a full-time person standing up front just to answer phones like back in the day when you could have, I can have an extra person that answers phones and just stands at the cash register. No, like, our cashier will drop fries, warm up bread, make salads, do milkshakes. Well, we stretch every position pretty because it's a small business, and we're selling, you know, $10 sandwiches. It's not like, you know, there's no liquor, so there's no, you know, so we do push people to say, hey, you know, you can order straight from our website. It's the same price. You get pickup. You've already paid. It saves you time when you come in. We don't have to stop and you know, and charge you and go through all that stuff. And it just, that's the way things are going. Is like, you know, it's on your phone. It's on your laptop. You know, there's ways to order that are so much easier. And it actually, it saves us too, because you answer the phone, you don't know how long you're going to be there, what questions you're going to get. People, you know, will, you know, hey, what kind of burgers do you have? You know, things like that. And it's like, you just bite your tongue. You try to be, you know, as pleasant as you can while you got 14 other things that you want to get back to in the kitchen. And so, sometimes we say, like, I'm sorry we didn't answer that phone when we were busy. Right. When the customer comes in, because sometimes we don't answer the phone. You know, 6:30 on a Friday night, we're not answering the phone. Like, I tell the guy, don't answer the phone. Like, we got like 20, you know, all these tickets and stuff. Like, don't answer the phone. Like, we got to keep going with what we got. And then the customer will come in and we'll say, like, I'm sorry we didn't answer the phone.
Is there a blurb in the voicemail section of like, hey, I'm sorry we couldn't get to the phone right now. If you're trying to place an order,
it will
online,
direct you.
You know? Okay.
If you can let it ring that far, or if you stay with it that long, it goes to a voicemail and will say, you know, please check out our website. You know, but I understand, like, people want to call. It's just that is super convenient too, to just pick up the phone and say, hey, give me you know, 3 burgers and a fry and a falafel sandwich. Okay, no problem. See you in 15 minutes or 20 minutes or whenever. We definitely don't want to discourage anyone from ordering from us, whichever way is convenient. But there will be times where it's you know what, there is value for me in letting DoorDash take a little percentage in order for me to, you know, to get that customer, to get that sale, because, you know, back in the day you would pay your PR group or team or firm or, you know, several different people, your marketing person or this person or that person. And so now, instead of paying those groups, okay, that percentage goes to the other guy. So it's like, you go, well, you know, 25 sounds like a lot, but, you know, it's worth it.
It's always been a volume game.
Yeah. It's depending how you work
without alcohol. Yeah, as
long as your food cost is not like crazy. You know, you can do it. Yeah, burgers are high food cost, but falafels are not. So I sell one burger at, you know, a high percentage, and I sell one falafel at a low percentage. I'm in the right. You know? So as long as we have the right product mix of, you know, items that we're selling, I can sell burgers, at 32% food costs when you want to be in the mid-20s
well, so
or
interesting.
lower.
Do you feel like people are coming in for that burger? When people are doing reviews and write-ups about you, is it mainly about the burger?
It seems like it, yeah. I would say the onion burger definitely gets not all the attention, but the most. I sit back sometimes and think, we didn't even start with that burger. It was a special, I kicked myself when I put it on, because I'm like, how do we open up a
falafel shop?
Yeah, it's like, we're saying that we're from Oklahoma, and we're doing like diner food from there, and it's like, and you don't put the onion burger on the opening menu, so it's like,
yeah.
And I was like, wow. And it took a few months, and then we put it on, and I was focused on falafels. I thought, it's about falafel, it's about Jordan flavors, and because we don't have shawarma, I didn't want to do it. I grew up slicing that stuff, and it kills your back. And it's a big procedure. It's super delicious, but
like the setup kills your back, or what kills your back? Just doing this,
just slicing away. It builds up muscle on this shoulder, and this shoulder's not getting it, and so it just kind of shifts things over time. One muscle getting stronger on one side of your spine and not on the other. Huh. It just kind of, that's what a chiropractor told me when I was like 18. He's like, your back is 18. Like. Well, you grow up in a family that has restaurants. It's like by the time you see over the counter, you start working.
Okay.
You start by filling up sodas, organizing shelves, and then you're old enough to make sandwiches and slice meats. And you always wanted to slice meat as a kid. You're just like, wow, look at that knife's like 18 inches long. It just looks cool. You're just like slicing away. And so, you do that, and it just like, oh man, my back hurts. Like, why is my back? Well, you're standing up all day. You're doing motions with your arms up in the air, and it just hurts, and it, it's delicious, but it just, the process was like, and the way we were opening up the restaurant, I wasn't going to buy a cone of gyros from Kronos or anything like that. It would be something that we produced in-house, and I was like, do I want to go through the setup? I need a bigger freezer. I need,
never, it could be never. It doesn't mean never.
No,
but
no.
Yeah,
for the space that we found, it was a little 4-foot hood. It still is a 4-foot hood. I don't know how we produce like all these burgers.
Yeah, it's not hazy in there
at all. It's tiny.
Yeah,
no, the hood is strong.
Yeah.
It sucks all the heat and AC out the window too, but it's just like, it's like, I can't fit an upright broiler in here.
Wow.
And then on top of that, I didn't want to slice. I didn't want to just slice the meat. And so I was like, how can we offer meat? What kind of meat option can we offer, that's on the griddle or deep fried? So, burgers, I thought, well, we can do burgers. And then I thought, well, does burgers and falafels sound weird? Like, will people buy that concept? Why are you doing burgers and falafels? And so the concept just grew from strictly falafels from Jordan with those seasonings to burgers. Okay, how do we make burgers make sense? Well, I'm from Oklahoma. I grew up in Oklahoma. Why don't we just say diner food from Oklahoma, street food from Jordan?
Okay.
It's a mixed mash of two, cuisines. Yeah. And so we do stuff that I used to eat in Oklahoma that you would find in diners, like burgers and onion rings and milkshakes. And
so there's a big diner culture in Oklahoma, or burger culture?
I would say, I would say there's a lot of diners. And when you think about restaurants in Oklahoma, when I grew up in the 80s and 90s, it was diners, it was buffets, it was lots of commercial. Like, I think Oklahoma and like Tulsa and Oklahoma City, they are like testing grounds for commercial restaurants like McDonald's and Hardee's and all those Burger King places, because they know, just like you go down any strip in Oklahoma, there's 5 or 6 chain restaurants, all lined up next to each other before you hit an independent place. Now that's changed, there's, the tables have turned, but back then, like, that's what we had. It was burgers. Oklahoma is cattle country. Like, we're not, the dirt is not that great for growing things. It's full of clay. That's why if you ever go to Oklahoma, you notice the dirt is red. It's dark red. And that's because there's just a high level of clay in the dirt, which is not good for planting things besides grass and whatever crops that need deep root systems. So it's cattle country, and so we get steakhouses and burgers and things like that. So yeah, it's, when I thought about food from Oklahoma, what is food from Oklahoma? It's a lot of it is, it's commercial stuff, and it can be good, it can be bad. You can't do that in a good way. Like, I think you see some restaurants opening up now that are, doing cheese sticks and poppers and like all that stuff you would find at TGI Fridays, but they're doing it really well, and you eat it and you're like, man, this is amazing. Like, a cheese stick can be done well, meatball can be done well. Like this stuff that Applebee's does, and probably, you just, you can do that stuff well.
Are we going to see an awesome blossom at Ragadan?
I would love an awesome blossom. I think about that stuff all the time. It's like, man, that was good. I don't know what that sauce was. I remember that sauce was good, and it was fun to eat. We in Oklahoma, the funnest thing of the year was the state fair. It's like Oklahoma's not a very old state. Like, it became a state in 1907, early 1900s. It became a state. And so it's pretty new. So there's not like, it's not like certain areas that had an influx of people from Germany, where the cuisine has a German background or things like that. It's like it's fairly new, and so it doesn't have. It's an open table. You can have like.
But your time there was formative enough to want to include it into the concept of Ragadan.
Yeah, because that's what I know. That's what you do what what you're familiar with. If you want to do something really well, do the things you know. I didn't want to test new things and new stuff that I've never done before. In a concept like that, this was the first restaurant I'd opened on my own. Like, you got to do what you're comfortable doing, what you know well. And just put as much flavor in it as you possibly could. So the training from fine dining restaurants and chefs that I'd worked with, taught me how to make things taste well, push the flavors. You taste the sauce and you go, oh, that's good, but can I make it taste better? Can I put more and more and more? And so, you could take simple food from a place like Oklahoma, burgers and shakes and fries and stuff like that, and just, can it taste well? Anything could taste good, as long as you give it attention,
Yeah. Can you take us back then to when your parents immigrated and settled, and I guess like the reasons or incentives for coming to Oklahoma?
Yeah, it's interesting because Oklahoma wasn't in the plan. They had come to Chicago in the beginning.
Wow.
So in the 60s and 70s, that was the spot. It was Chicago, New York, Detroit, California to a certain extent. So my parents' uncles, they had started to come in the late 50s and 60s, and so slowly it's like, I have an uncle in Chicago, so that's where we're going to go. I have an uncle in California, that's where we're going. We're going to go where our family is. Yeah. And so they had come in the 70s. I believe there was a program within the government that was pushing people from the Middle East, helping them get to
incentivize
America.
them. Was it certain trades, like certain job positions that they were incentivizing, or?
No, I don't think they were pushed to go into any.
Interesting. Okay.
Into any specific field that I know of.
How like nursing for Filipinos.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, I was thinking the same thing. Usually with that, it was find your own business, gas station, corner store, grocery store. A lot of the people in my family, or people just from Jordan or surrounding areas, that's what you found them doing: corner stores, gas stations. If you could get the funding, you would do a grocery store or build up to a grocery store. Taxi cabs, driving, things like that. A lot of it is like self-employment, is what I found that our relatives had done. I think my father had gone to college. He had was in the military, and so he was able to get positions in big companies. I think he worked at Sweetheart, was like a supervisor at one point for Sweetheart Company on the Southwest side.
What is that? What's Sweetheart?
The cups.
Oh.
Yeah. Like
Dixie?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm. And, So my father's mother, my grandmother, 10 brothers and sisters. She had 10 children. And so moving from small village in Jordan to Chicago, southwest side at the time, it was a culture shock, and I think, she was looking at her teenage children and younger, and some of her kids were in the 20s like my father. It just didn't seem like, it was too much, I think, as a culture change, from a suburb of Amman to a big city in Chicago. Yeah, they were here for a few years. My brother was born here. Several of my cousins were born here.
Oh, wow.
But then we also have lots of family here too, and they're still here. But some idea came across them to go check out California. Hey, maybe California is a better fit for us. I think the neighborhood that they chose was high in crime, and so that kind of scared them a little
Chicago?
bit. Yeah, and so
was it like Burbank area?
It was like Pulaski and 79th in that area, down those streets a little bit, which is great. I mean, it's a great area.
Food's great there now.
Yeah, it's awesome. Things change. You go down certain areas, and it's just like I remember first moving here and driving down Broadway. Like in the late 90s in Uptown, and where my brother lived. I was like, man, like my brother lived off of Irving Park in Sheridan, and then I would take his bike or his car and just drive, and all of a sudden I'm driving down Broadway, and it just changed. Like you cross like Montrose, and you're like, where this is like out of a movie, like this is Skid Row, like it's cool but it's scary, like
interesting.
And this was 25 years ago, and then I that's where I live now, that's where the businesses are now, that's where I've been for almost a couple 15 years, and it's just like things change, like neighborhoods change. There's still some things you don't want to see, but then it's like it's an awesome neighborhood and it's fun to live in, and I like it. I have no regrets. But in the late 70s, it was just, it was a different story. Yeah. And so they had the idea to go to California. They said, let's go to, see where one of our relatives lives there. They say it's nice, the mountains, the weather, like everything's just beautiful. And then I think before they were making their trip out, the church that they were going to told them, hey, there's a small Arabic community in Oklahoma City. On your way to check out California, you should stop in there and go talk to them and see what it's like there. And so they did. They stopped. It was mainly Lebanese community, but Orthodox church, and they got convinced to stay there. I don't know what happened in the conversation. They never made it to California. No, they got to Oklahoma. Those people in the church, I'm sure they were like, this is Oklahoma City in the late 70s. There's probably like 14 Arabic people here. Like, let's try to build this community. And so they were convinced to stay, and what
did that look like? Like, did they get housed by this community for a little bit to get set up, or? No,
I think, we had enough financially enough to, to get a house. I mean, this is also Oklahoma in the 70s. It wasn't that, it wasn't that expensive.
Okay.
It was pretty, I don't want to say cheap, but it just, your money went a lot further down there than it did in other places. And it's because, you're in the middle of the country, you're far away from everything. Things are just cheaper. Property is cheaper. Taxes are cheaper. The cost of living is just so much easier. And so, they opened up a restaurant in Oklahoma City. It was like a diner.
Wow.
A 24-hour diner where they served, pancakes and eggs.
Like your grandmother or uncles?
My father and his brothers.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
So my father was a big driver of the businesses that they had opened in Oklahoma, and his father passed away early, and he was one of the older children, and he had drive, and so he became like sort of a patriarch where his younger brothers and sisters, who some of them were still in their adolescence.
Wow.
They looked to him like a father figure.
Sure.
And then I think my grandmother also relied on him heavily to, keep the family going and together, and
wow.
To take care of things. My grandfather had passed away here in Chicago, I think, in the 77 or 8
So,
or somewhere
like,
around there.
but after they moved?
Yeah.
So your
Yeah.
grandfather stayed?
No, he's buried here, actually.
But
yeah.
but like, was it in the middle of the move to Oklahoma, or like,
I don't know the exact timing. I think it was
interesting.
before. It definitely was before.
Okay.
But it may have been a reason why they were like, we don't like this place, you know. Or some of us, were just, this is, let's get the younger kids into a safer situation or some better opportunities. I don't think it was what they expected when they'd come, to America. I think some of the people, my uncles, my father's younger brothers, they loved Chicago, and to this day they're like, oh, we should have never left. It's like Oklahoma was so boring, and we should have stayed in Chicago or gone to California. My mom loves California because she loves gardening. So she sees like her cousins and friends in California have orange trees and lemon trees, and she's like, oh, I wish we went to California, or I loved Oklahoma. It was fun. I mean, as a kid, you grew up like it was like leave it to Beaver days. Like you could ride your bike for miles.
Right.
You left the house. I'll be back later. You went to the park. You play with your friends. You spent the whole day outside of the house.
Mm-hmm.
We would have sleepovers with my cousins. You'd go to sleep at their house, and you'd wake up. You just explore a different neighborhood, and you're just going all over the place. And so it was fun. There was a ton of freedom. But then you get to late teens and your early 20s, and you're like, it's a little
what
boring.
Else is out there?
Yeah, I can't play pool every day. That's what I was doing. I didn't enjoy drinking, and so it wasn't like I'm going out to drink or anything. And so it was like I would just go play pool every day, after work, after school. And so it just, it gave me a drive to want to leave, But yeah, so they had.
How many seats in the diner?
The diner, it was big. It was pretty big. I would say 75
that's
plus.
Huge.
It was huge. Everything in Oklahoma is huge. It's like everyone's got a big yard.
Was that hard to maintain though?
I'm sure they had their struggles.
Yeah.
They had a big private dining area too, where they would have belly dancers and like events where you'd come to the restaurant and there would be a belly dancing show, and then you would eat and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, that restaurant had more influence on me than I realized even up until a year or two ago.
It seems so progressive for back then. A dinner and a show.
Yeah. And belly dancing show on top of it. The women were half naked, dancing around, and it's a part of the Arabic culture, to have that. But it's like a burlesque show. It was just and there was a little stage, and I remember it. I was 7, 8, 9 years old, and those are the earliest memories that are in that restaurant. You go and you play the video games, or you sit, you have a hamburger. But yeah, it was a diner.
I associate I associate having regulars with diners.
Yeah, for sure.
So was the diner a staple in the community then?
I think for certain customers it definitely was. It was something different. You could go get your burger, you could go get your eggs, but you can also get a traditional Arabic dish. Like my grandma worked there. She would make, Arabic dishes, and they would sell them too.
Okay.
And, it was, it was a fun place. I mean, for me as a kid, as an adult, like, I don't know, I look at my kid now and I see the way he's experiencing the world and the way I'm experiencing the world. And I say, I could have stress or worry about financial things or have this and that going on, and my kid is like having a great time, and we're going to the museum and parks and all this stuff. And so he has a perspective of the world of this is fun and awesome, and we're having a great time, and we get to go do this on Sunday and Monday. And then on the other hand, I could be, oh man, we gotta, it's the end of the month, we gotta make rent, we gotta get this, we gotta get it, and not that it's, I'm having a bad time, I'm having a great time, but as an adult, you have, these stressful moments. And so it makes me think of back in the day when I would go to the diner. Like, I thought it was fun and cool, but were my parents having a hard time? Were my uncles having a hard time? I'm sure it was extremely stressful moving to a new area, trying to build something out of nothing, paying rent and bills and all this stuff on top of it, I'm sure it was difficult because their businesses grew and changed too. It went from that diner to having more quick service style restaurants in local malls. And so that's where the slicing gyros came in. We would get the gyros in and make sandwiches and Greek salads and things like that, but sell them out of the local malls. So there was 2 or 3 malls that we were in, a couple of standalone places. Sooner or later they had a bakery where they were making their pita bread.
Was it a family restaurant, or was it like a franchise of another restaurant? Or?
No, it was called Sweis's.
Wow, cool.
And so that's our last name, Sweis. And so the pita bakery was called Sweis Brothers. We made the pita bread for the sandwiches and also sold Middle Eastern goods, canned stuff, cheeses, olives.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. CPG, getting into the CPG game? Too?
Yeah, it just, they very entrepreneurial. Like it just, they just created their own businesses, So like Filipinos would go into nursing. That's where I felt like, people from Jordan, it seemed like they loved to just be self-employed. I don't know what it was about it. Maybe it's just you didn't have that opportunity where you were from, and all of a sudden you have that opportunity here, and so that was their goal, or the independence of it. I'm not sure. I mean, I still have it because that's all I had thought about, growing up. What am I doing with this career? Where am I going to take it? And it would always be, you open up your own place. That's like, it wasn't even a...
That's so interesting, because in my head, people of our parents' generation and grandparents' generation did things out of necessity to make ends meet. They were willing to do whatever it took, and they did not have the privilege to think about and ruminate on what would be most fulfilling. And it's interesting to hear that they still sought out entrepreneurship.
Yeah. It's just, one chose restaurants. My grandparents on my mother's side were tailors. Both grandfather and grandmother, alterations and tailor. They had their own little tailor shop. My mother's side, her 2 brothers, pizza places.
It's so interesting, and to hear how eclectic it is, because they didn't have YouTube University back then. It's just like, where are they picking up these trades, these skills from?
Yeah, I mean, to this day, I don't know why my grandparents chose tailoring. I don't know. My grandfather was a colonel in the Jordanian army.
Wow.
So at some point though, they must have learned how to sew and do things as technical as wedding gowns and things like that.
Yeah.
And then certain uncles had HVAC companies, and other uncles, I think one family in California owns their own taxi company. And so it was, I would look across the spectrum of my family and just see like self-employment with that generation. Oklahoma just was, the place where they stopped, and they grew businesses out of it. And, it influenced me tremendously.
Yeah.
I mean, subconsciously, I didn't even know what I was doing when I opened Ragadan, that it dawned on me like a couple years into it that Ragadan is basically a smaller version of the original diner that they had opened up. It's like, I was just like, oh, how did I not even realize that? Like, they opened up a diner serving burgers and eggs and stuff like that, and then also threw in Arabic dishes on top of it because that's what they knew, and they thought this would be cool. Let's serve.
If they ever merged the two, if they ever tried fusion, or if it was like,
I don't think
let's
so.
Just keep it separate.
I don't think so. I don't remember any dishes that were like, this is specifically mulhiya, which is like a leafy stew with chicken and lots of garlic, and you just pour it over rice and tons of lemon. And to this day, it's my favorite dish. And it's just like, there was no fusion there. That didn't meet anything, that wasn't on a burger. There was no za'atar mayo or, anything like that. And I think, I merged the two because I was trying to figure out how to.
Well, just like how the burgers bring in people in the doors, it's like it's an invitation to more. And if you're not doing it already, I can see, like, having a weekly special for dishes that you are very fond of. Just like how some Mexican restaurants might do like mole on certain days or pozole on certain days.
Mm-hmm.
And I think over time your regulars will want to be curious about more.
Yeah, no, I do that. It crosses my mind all the time. Like, oh man, I should do this. Right? Like I see it. Like one of the like most well-known dishes from Jordan is mansaf. It's like they take yogurt and dry it out so much that it's like a rock. It's literally like a hard rock, and then you would take that and make basically like a stew with it, where you boil lamb with this dried yogurt, and you pour that over rice, and it's like probably the most traditional dish in Jordan that you could find. And so I would get, I would want to think, how can I work that into a place like this? How can we do something fun like that that's represents Jordan? And also I have some customers that are like, oh, you're a Jordanian restaurant, where's the mansaf? And I'm like, well, we're street food. Like that's what I would always say. This is like sandwiches, dude. Like I'm not serving, like we don't have plateware, like but I noticed like in New York it became a thing where the carts would serve mansaf in a cup. It would just be like a cup with rice, and the guy would, like the street carts, you just pour the sauce on top with your lamb or chicken, and put some pine nuts on top of it, and just eat it out of a cup. And I thought, well, that would be fun. So there has been times where it's like, how can I work in mansaf? How can I work in mohiyya or majadara? All these dishes that are basically rice-based dishes with some sort of sauce and protein on top of it, and then it just we haven't gotten there yet. I think
reminds
it's somewhere.
Me of the team in Lawrence Latrero at Buy and Co Diner, and then the kind of next door, the fine dining aspect to it, and to kind of stretch that creative muscle and really kind of just be experimental.
For sure.
Take it. It's a different approach, but it's you get to have fun again.
Yeah. I love those two places. I drive by them almost daily because it's just on my route of places that I go to, and living in the area for so long, I remember when they first opened and it was exciting, and I was like, oh, that sounds awesome. Let me go try it. And it was awesome. And, the diner, I've been there 2 or 3 times now since it's opened, and it's delicious. Like I love seeing places like that, different flavors and fun places to eat at. It makes things awesome.
Like we were talking about earlier before we were recording. It's like you're doing things to make ends meet, and then eventually, you're going to get to a point where you can just start playing.
Yeah, 100%. And I think Ragadan will get there. We work with the space we have now. And there are thoughts of what can this be, and I'm sure someday it will turn into something different. And then here's the thing. Here's another person that came up, like Ethan Lim. And here's this fast casual kind of joint during the day, and with the chicken sandwiches, with the Cambodian fried chicken sandwich, and then at night, family meal. Yeah. With the big focus on wines
put
too,
the
right?
Wines down, candlelit, big wines or whatever wines you want to bring, and then he has this whole spread, this prefix menu. It's beautiful.
Yeah, no, it's I've only heard great things about it. Hopefully one of these days I can get out.
But I can see a family meal inside Ragadan.
Yeah, no, I've thought about it. We're closed on Sunday and Monday, and I tell myself, well, we could do a Monday night dinner where we do that. I got 23, 24 seats.
Yes.
The thoughts have crossed my mind where it's
it doesn't have.
Can we sell a 4-course meal and do this and do that, and then
you don't have to invest in a whole nother brick and mortar in order to experiment.
No, for sure, and it is I have all these thoughts, and I've had all these thoughts, and it just. Executing them is the thing. Like just the way the pizza place came about. It was. I had thought of a pizza place before Ragadan. Like that was the goal, to open a pizza place. Ragadan was supposed to be a pizza place.
Oh, interesting.
That was supposed to be a pizza pie. My final couple years of working, with the last restaurant group I was with, I started planning the pizza place. I started researching flowers and all this stuff and that and COVID hit, and then slowly, just, the time you had to yourself, like you're building a pizza place, and then all of a sudden, is pizza place there? You start second guessing things. Is this the right thing for me to do? Like, and then all of a sudden, well, what else would I do? And I said, well, I would want to do falafels. I always wanted to do Jordanian food, to bring that, because almost all the falafel places you see, nothing against them, but they're not specifically from a region. They're just, falafel and shawarma.
And I don't think that's a thought most people have, is falafel can be regional.
Yeah, no, and I think that's because nobody is telling you, hey, we're doing falafels from Lebanon, or we're, even more specifically, like cities within each country do falafels differently.
Oh, wow.
There's a great book that I would reference, when I was creating the menu, and it was focusing on all the different cities around Israel and the Palestinian areas, where this is how they do it in Tel Aviv, this is how they do it in this city and that city and that city, and everyone was completely different. This area would use favas mixed with chickpeas, or this area would use more cilantro, and that area would use no cilantro, and that was the first time I saw, there is, it's very regional.
Yeah.
And so let's do a falafel from Amman, the one that I remember eating and going, man, this you bite it and your nose fills up with spices and aromas, and it's just like, I didn't experience that at all, here. And, so that was the thought, that thought took over during COVID, where it was like, that would be cool. And that makes more sense. I guess,
and reflect on why at that time pizza didn't make as much sense. Because was it the COVID thing, or because pizza's good, pretty decent
pizza
takeout.
blew up during COVID, actually. If I had opened when I thought I was going to open, I would have been opening up at the perfect time, right before COVID. That was you would have been ahead of the game. Not ahead of the game. The pizza game's been there for generations. I'm not ahead of nothing in that respect, but just people went away from gluten over the previous 10, 15 years. They just, pizza, it's all gluten. I don't want that, and so you would, it's just 2015, 16, 17, you just hit a peak of no gluten. We don't want gluten. And then it slowly kind of crept back, where, no, we want pizza. Pizza is still super popular.
Do you need a whole separate oven for gluten-free?
I mean,
would it kind of cross-contaminate if it was in the same oven?
It definitely would.
Right?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. I mean, the oven we use, it's an impingement oven, so it's just basically like a convection oven where air is blowing down, and so I'm sure you're getting dust and stuff from flour blowing all over things. If you have a celiac, that issue where it's like you cannot, do that.
Not even,
then you probably should not eat food from here, because we can do, a flourless crust and the toppings won't have flour in it. We use a different pizza screen specifically for that. We use a different knife. So if it's a part of your diet to be gluten-free, you will be fine. If you have celiac, it may cause you some issues, because it's hard to guarantee, there's just flour everywhere in a pizza place. So if you can have a different oven or a different space or a different prep section for that.
Whereas with Pauly G's, if I were to guess it, because it's wood fired, it's it's not blowing. Yeah,
it doesn't have that airflow inside there.
Okay.
There is still airflow from heat, moving the air, but it's not like we use a conveyor oven, and it's just constantly blowing air, and the air is blowing out, but it's just, there's flour on the floor, there's flour on the table, there's just flour everywhere, and so it just
and that story reminds me of Joe Glorioso from Joey G's Mac and Cheese. And he had a pizza concept back in the day. I think he's finally bringing it back.
Oh, nice.
But he was also kind of he was in 2017-ish, I think 2017, 2018, when he opened Mac and Cheese. But he just keeps growing, and he took over a chicken sandwich shop at the corner of Augusta and Western.
Okay.
But I see pizza back on the menu, and I was like, what a full circle moment for him to come back and do pizzas again.
Yeah, it's, whatever path you want to create, really. For us, the path changed. It went from pizza to falafels with burgers, to how do you explain this to people? Well, we'll just work my own personal history with it, and that'll, kind of help explain it. And then just, one day a sign down the street popped up on the door. It said for rent, and the cashier walked in and goes, "Hey, that old restaurant over there is for lease." And I said, give the guy a call, and a couple days later walk in there, and he's kind of a goofy, funny landlord, just joking from the first step I walked in there. "Oh, here's the keys, where's the rent check?" And I was like, "Oh," I was like, "Okay." I was like, "Well, how much is the rent?" He's like, "Oh, it's this much." I said, "Well, does it include this?" So you'd go back and forth, and then it said, "Yeah, well, I have the business plan, I got the recipes, I got the, I know how to do a restaurant. I need a guy. Do I have a guy?" I called up a guy. "Hey, you want to do this?" "Yeah, let's do it." I said, "Okay." And so it just, one thing leads to another. It just happens.
Crazy how fast things can move. With the right pieces.
Yeah. So it just, some things can be on your drawing board, or you have an idea for something, like the Monday night dinners, or trying to work in mansaf, or trying to work in something. Yeah. I don't know when it's going to come about, but you just don't know when the day comes around where it's like, now you have the opportunity and you're going to do it.
That's the opposite of another belief of, there's the title of the book is like ready, fire, aim. Mm-hmm. So to kind of just take action as soon as possible, iterate. You're going to fail over and over again, but the faster you can fail, the faster you can find out what needs to be done in order to do it right. That experience is kind of the opposite to that, of like just letting it, tucking it away. But in a way though, you've been ready for it.
Yeah. If you're ready for it, then you can pull the trigger on it and go, let's execute. Like, let's get it, we can get it done. As opposed to, I'm not ready for this, let's scramble, we'll get everything together. Mm-hmm. Well, now you're building something on a wobbly foundation. Like, the chances of you succeeding are slim, and so, like, it just, if you're ready to pull the trigger and jump on something, you can. Mm-hmm. I mean, we were speaking about, purchasing a property or something, and we're talking with my wife about that now. Like, we want to make the next step and get out of the apartment into a home. And it's like, if you don't have the funds or the credit score or this stuff, and you see a house that you fall in love with, and you're like, "Oh, how can I make this work? Like, we're going to stretch." And so it's like, no, we gotta, we can't jump on a house that we're not prepared to buy. We have to get prepared first, and then say, whenever that house comes along, where it's like, "Oh, there's the opportunity, there's the perfect house, it's at a perfect price, someone needs to get rid of it quickly," and it's like, okay, here, we're ready to go. We can just give you an offer, and there's not a delay, and all of a sudden you have the house. And it's like that with the business. It's like that with anything. It's how I'd purchased my first home. It just, the person was dying to get rid of the house. He couldn't get rid of it. It was like 2008 during the financial crisis, where nobody was buying houses at the time. And, it just, I had no business buying a home, in my 20s, but it just, the opportunity was there. And it's like, because I was ready, he jumped on it, and so just like the pizza place, we were ready, we jumped on it. With Ragadan, I feel like there will be an event like that where, we work in a different, menu, or work in some more items, or have a Monday night, sort of,
That's gonna be special. That's gonna be so special.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Some of what's holding me back is I have a 4-year-old kid, and it's my first kid. I'm 46 years old. I don't know if there's another one coming. So it's like, I'm looking at my free time as, how can I get as much free time with this guy as possible? Yeah. Because it's like, he'll be 5 this summer, and like,
I looked at him. We noticed the toys in the shop.
Yeah, there's toys all over the place, because he'll run in and his toys are there, and there's his chair, and and it's just like, do I want to spend time making that Monday night dinner, or do I want to spend time, going to Jenny's Ice Cream with them on Monday nights and going to the park, or we're going to go to the car show tonight. Like, it's like, there's just like, that's why we close 2 days a week, Sunday, Monday. Like, that used to always annoy me, like working in kitchens, and that was your day off, Sunday or Monday or Tuesday. You'd want to go to the cool restaurant, and it's like, oh, the cool places are closed on Monday. And it's like, you'd just be like, oh, my options are limited because the fun place that I always want to go to is closed. And I would tell myself, I would never do that because,
I mean, what if you closed earlier on a regular day?
It's different. It's different having the day off than to close, earlier. And so, and then I found myself doing the same thing when I was, able to. I said, you know what? I want to close Sunday, Monday. When the pizza place opened, we closed Monday too. And so it was just a full 2 days off. And then I would think, it's ironic, like I'm doing what I used to complain about, but it's just so much better for my lifestyle to have those 2 days off. And Sunday nights I still work. I go spend a few hours at night at the pizza place. And Monday I do some errands and I do the administrative stuff. But being closed on that day helps me do that stuff, and it helps the business, stay in compliance, with all the little things, all the permits and insurance. And I mean, there's just so many little, I didn't even realize after like the first 12, 14 months that I wasn't paying a certain sales tax that I wasn't aware of.
Yeah.
And it was like, what do you mean there's another 0.5% sales tax I'm supposed to pay?
Oh, interesting.
Oh, there's a special Chicago restaurant sales tax.
My gosh.
And I got a delinquency notice from the city. I'm like, and I give it to my accountant at the time, and I was like, dude, what is this? Like, what, aren't we paying this? And he goes, oh, that's the 0.5% sales tax. Like, he's like, you don't pay that? I'm like, I don't pay that. Like, it's your job. I make burgers, dude.
Man.
Like, you pay the taxes. You just tell me what to pay, and I pay it. And he's like, oh no, we thought you were paying it. I'm like, it's just like, okay, it wasn't a ton of money, but it was just, it scared you. You get a notice from the city that says delinquent. You're like, are they going to come close me down? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Like, and so you just realize, oh, I need to file this every month. I need to file this every 6 months. I need to pay this every year. I need to pay that every 2 years. If you got like a parking ticket, they're going to put a delay on your business license. Yeah. Oh, yeah. When I was opening up the pizza places, I was so worried. I was like, oh crap. Like, are they going to stop this application because of a parking ticket I don't know about?
Yeah.
And I religiously check my parking ticket stuff because it's just, I don't want to see a boot on the car. I don't want to, the doubling, of the ticket after 30 days or whatever it is. It just, so you just open up the app and you put your license plate in and you go, do I have any tickets? And you look, no parking tickets, but you always get the red light, $35, little ticky-tack tickets that they just seem to, and, they just, it is what it is. It's just another tax of driving in the city. So, so it just, it's fine.
Does it ever make you want to go back to Oklahoma?
It does, 100%. I was unloading my car in front of the restaurant and unloading the car. Then all of a sudden we got some tickets in. One was a big one, so I couldn't stop. I had to help the crew, get the ticket out. And next thing you know, I'm parked in a biking lane, which is not good, but I'm unloading and it's in front of the restaurant, and it's like I'm next door to a liquor store. There's semi trucks unloading all day long.
Yeah.
Parked in the middle of the street, parked in the bus stop, parked everywhere. And so, you see that and you go, okay, well, I'm unloading too. I can park. Let me park right here for 5 minutes. And 99 times out of 100, no issue. But the one time I got a ticket, it's $250 for parking in a bike lane. And it's understandable. You're putting bicyclists in danger. But $250, like, that's like handicap parking tickets, I think, are $250, right? You see the little handicap sign that says fine, $250. And so it's like, wow, this is as extreme as a handicap, infraction. And so, yeah, it's you get that ticket and you're like I want to just move back to Oklahoma. This is ridiculous. Like, really? Like $250 for that? Like, come on. And so, but then, days pass and you get over it, and it just, then you warn the customers when they come in, don't park there. It's usually DoorDash drivers, the Uber drivers, because that's, they park there in, they're out. And I would tell them, like, it's going to be 10 minutes. Like, don't leave your car there. Like, go. It's like the ticket at the meter is going to be a lot cheaper than the ticket over there. And lately they've been ticketing that stretch of Broadway like crazy. I think they realized how much money there is on that street because it just, there's so many.
Do you think that job is commission based? The meter maid?
I hope not. I think
like what's their incentive for getting as many of it in?
Yeah. I think there probably is. They know which areas and times of days to hit. I see them more in the morning, like right at 9 a.m.
Like same on Cermak, and just like why there's got to be an incentive for waking up that early.
Yeah. I think
because if they're gonna get paid hourly, why not just walk around, listen to a podcast and just
right and give people tickets and but I hope it's not commission based. I mean, I don't know. I guess that's all I can say is I hope it's not. I mean, I've seen a guy like, extort money out of the driver, for that $250 ticket. Like I'm like, one day we were just watching and the meter maid was just going back and forth with the Uber driver who had just picked up an order from me. And we were like, what are they doing? That's weird. We got big windows. We see the whole street. It's right in front of us. The kitchen faces the windows. And then he's pointing at the liquor store. And we're like, I wonder what they're talking about. And then the driver goes into the liquor store. They got an ATM. And he comes out with, gives the guy some cash. And they both make their ways. And I'm like, man, that does happen. You make that ticket $250, you're incentivizing that person to go, well, you know what? It's a $250 ticket. Why don't you just give me $75 and we'll call it a day? And you would think, that's what I think people think you can bribe those guys. And I'm sure doesn't happen a lot. I'm sure it's very, very seldom. But in that case, it did happen. It happened right there in front of us. And, I don't know, that's his commission for that day, I guess, but I don't know. Cermak is very busy. It's very hard to park,
I've always gotten spots on whim.
Yeah. I know, when I go to eat in Pilsen, we can drive around the block a few times to find a spot. And so I'm sure, those ticketing agencies are like, go hit that spot because we're going to rake it in over there, or Broadway over there in front of the liquor store. There's always people double parked. You can probably get a few of those things, but it's just a part of a big city. It's a part of paying for things.
Yeah, the cost of living in the city.
Yeah. It's just
When you were thinking about leaving Oklahoma, was college in your cards, or was it how much? What percentage of it was like entrepreneurship versus cooking?
Yeah, I think. Well, college wasn't my thing. I'd gone for a couple of years, and it high school wasn't my thing. I dished it as much as I could.
Wow, to do what?
Just hang out, stare at the wall, stupid stuff. It just, it just, you just didn't want to be in the classroom. I don't know what it was about it. It was just, I'd rather be playing, hacky sack with my cousin or something. I had one cousin, we were both the same age, same school, we would ditch class and go, shimmy up the chimney on the roof of the high school and play hacky sack up there. Or go, when we had cars, we'd just drive to the lake and hang out at the lake and listen to music and, do stupid stuff. And so college was just more of that. It was there's even less supervision.
Yeah.
I could just stay in my apartment and sleep, the rest of the afternoon. And so it just slowly became you can't, this is not going to be, you're not going to go to college. You're not going to finish this. I think you realize at a point, you're just you can't fake it very much longer. There's nothing there.
Yeah.
It's not your thing.
And there's this push and pull. So was anyone around you, parents or siblings, kind of pushing you, or were you feeling pulled towards something else?
No. I think it was all self-motivation. Everyone was busy doing their thing, working. At the time, my brother was already living back in Chicago. He moved in the late 90s back to Chicago.
Were you working through college? Who was?
Yeah,
so you were supporting yourself through school.
I wouldn't say supporting myself. I mean, definitely making enough to pay my rent and buy food and stuff like that.
Because my parents supported me through college, and I pissed it all away. And it's just there's a couple epiphanies from that of I didn't think too much about school because I wasn't paying for it.
Yeah.
And so because they were paying for it, this is their investment. They want to, there's a push, right? So it's just like, so then there's an inquiry of like, okay, if you're not doing this, what are you doing?
Yeah. No, and I think, there was definitely that.
Okay.
My parents supported, they paid for the 2 years of college that I went to. I went to a local, it was a university, but it was just a lower cost university, sure. University of Central Oklahoma. It was in Edmond, just north of Oklahoma City, not very far. And it was, it wasn't crazy. It wasn't like 20, 30, 40, 50 grand tuition. It was a few thousand a year. And so, but that, quickly became like, it's just, this is like, this is not the path you're going to take. Like, there is no major you want. What do you know how to do? I know how to cook. I know how to work in a kitchen. I know how to manage operations and things like that. And so it's like, this is just what it's going to be. And I saw a commercial for culinary school at like 2 or 3 in the morning one day, and it's a Western Culinary Institute in Portland, Oregon. I'm like, Portland, Oregon, wow. That would be fun. Like, that's different, and it's just like, so I, at the time you write a letter, explain your story. I hope you guys would accept me. I'd love to come to your school, but my grades were terrible in high school. But I would do a good job. Blah blah blah. At the time, thinking back on it, I was like, oh man, they're going to reject me because my grades are terrible. But that might have been a qualification for culinary school. Is like, you don't do good in high school, you're welcome. You're our perfect fit. And so, I was excited when I got accepted. I was like, oh wow, I got accepted. Like, I don't know why they accepted me. I have terrible grades. And it's like, well, that's why they accepted you, because you're a perfect fit for a kitchen.
Yeah.
And so, I told my parents, like, can I do this? Can I go? And they were just like, yeah, like, go ahead. Like, very supportive.
That's so interesting, because like I would also understand them saying things like, we have a diner, you can cook in here, you can learn how to cook here.
No, I don't think they wanted me to follow in their footsteps. I don't think my dad wanted me to be, working in restaurants, because they worked in restaurants. They know how tough it is. It's just like, okay, it could take you 15 years before you're financially stable. It just can take a long time to make, whatever you're going to build into something. Or maybe you go work for a hotel and you get benefits and good pay and a good lifestyle. There are things, but it's still a hard, a hard job. And you're doing it on your feet, standing up all day. And so, but it just, I think they also realized, hey, this guy's not, he's not doing well in school. It's not his thing. You got to let him figure it out.
Yeah, kudos to them for being supportive.
19 years old at the time, they let me drive, move to the other side of the country.
You didn't shop around? No Kendall College, no CIA?
I had no idea about culinary school back then. I don't think any teenager, most of them don't know the path to take to get.
I don't know anyone else that went to Portland for culinary school.
I think there was a few, not a ton. The school doesn't exist anymore.
Okay.
It closed down. Probably for good. I mean, culinary schools, they just, I think they realized, man, we can charge people a ridiculous amount of money for a job that's not going to pay them very much. And, it was good for me. At the time, I think I got into culinary school at the last possible, before it went nuts. When I went there, it was $2,000. The tuition was $18,000 for a 1-year class. And it was just and when I graduated, the incoming class were paying $32,000 for the same program I had just taken. And I was like, well, they built this new building where they were going to have their international studies classes, and then I think they grew into other programs where they're like, oh, you can get your bachelor's and all this other stuff, where it just became, how can we squeeze as much money out of these kids as we possibly could? Let's offer them, all this stuff. So I felt like I got in at the right time. Portland is amazing. That city, that area, that part of the country, it just, the trees, the mountains, the ocean, from Portland, you go 45 minutes this way, you're, on a mountain skiing. You go 45 minutes that way, you're in the ocean. They say you can surf, but, the water's freezing, and, but technically you could be in one place in less than an hour, be snowboarding or skiing, and the other direction be on the beach. So it's just it was beautiful. You know, strawberries growing on the side of the road, like it just, you know, growing up in Oklahoma, it's arid, not that much stuff grows. It's pretty, but it's flat. And then going to, you know,
and you didn't have any family there?
Nobody.
In a way, it could be
alone.
a crutch, though, right? So, like, not knowing anyone, you're kind of forced to create your own friend group and network and family. Yeah.
And the school helped you do that.
Oh,
you know,
nice.
you made your little group of friends, and you know, but completely alone. And I loved it. Like, it just, like, I was always been very independent. Like, when I was just a few years old, I would run away. You know, not run away like in the you know, that type of way, but just like, I'll go out the front door and go to the neighbor's house, you know, as a 4 or 5 year old kid. And the neighbor's bringing me back to the house saying, your kid just came over here. It's like 8 o'clock at night, you know. And my parents were like, oh, crap, dude. We had like family over that day, and it was like a family party. You know, there's like 30, 40 people in the house. And it's just like, it's easy to, you know, walk out the door when everybody's, you know. Plus in Oklahoma, it's a little
safe,
neighborhood.
Yeah.
It was safe. Like, I walked down the street. It's not like walking down the street here. You're like, it's just like a suburb, you know, just quieter. And so I always had that independent streak, and, you know, moving to Portland, it was just like, oh, wow, this is awesome. Like, I really like being the only person like out here, like that I know, like, and having your own friends and all that stuff, and completely independent. And like moving out of the house, you know, when I was 18, 19 and getting an apartment, it was fun, but you would still, you know, bump into family and friends in places, and, you know, still be close to the network. But going to Oregon, it was just like, the nearest family is in San Francisco. And it's like, you know, I don't know, 8-10 hour drive south.
Did anyone come visit?
Cousins that I grew up with, you know, the guys, my friends basically from Oklahoma.
Oh, nice.
You know, they would come a couple times a year, 1 or 2. You know, we would have fun, go to the mountain, go to the ocean, you know, go here, go there. But yeah, it just, you know, it was awesome. But it came to a head where my mom never really liked it. She's like, there's nobody out there. Like, if something happens to you, we have no avenue to come help you or save you. Or like, okay, something happens to you, we get on a plane and fly. It's a day later or whatever, or nobody will even know to call us because it's 2000. Like, it's, you know, there's cell phones, but it's not like it is now where you can share your location and do all this other stuff. And so it came to a point after a few years where it was like, can't you just move somewhere a little closer? And so I said, you know, it's like you had a few good options for restaurant cities at the time.
Did you finish school?
I did.
Oh,
yeah, I finished school. It was only a year program. It was fun.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So how long did you stay there then?
About 3 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you were working?
I was working there.
Oh.
Yeah, I'd worked at a little restaurant for a while called Paragon, and then I worked with Aramark. It was hard at that time to find work in Portland. The unemployment rate was pretty high there, and, you know, I don't know what it was, but, you know, as a kid coming out of a culinary school with, you know, not that much fine dining experience. All my experience was quick service. And so, you know, it just, you know, it made it harder. And so I'd gotten a position with Aramark at the convention center, and that was fun. And then I worked at the baseball field that they had there, you know, setting up all the concessions and cooking and stuff like that, and doing private events. But, you know, you would see all the fun things they were doing in New York and Chicago, and to a certain extent,
what do you mean,
San
like through
Francisco.
social media? Like how are you seeing it?
Books, you know, you get the French Laundry book and be like, oh, wow, what else is there? Oh, Charlie Trotter. What's this Charlie Trotter thing in Chicago?
Yeah.
What's all the fun stuff they're doing in New York, you know? And it's just like, so it was like, okay, you had 2 major cities, New York and Chicago, and then San Francisco. You know, it wasn't like it was today, but you had a handful of places there, a lot of places in Chicago, a tremendous amount of places in New York. And then, you know, other cities around America would have like 1 or 2 cool places. But, you know, 25 years ago, it was, you know, the restaurant boom, and, you know, it's different now. You know, every city. Oklahoma has cool restaurants.
Yeah.
You know, you look at the
James Beard.
James Beard, like,
yeah.
It's almost like they make a
Michelin,
point to
yeah.
go, like, let's go to the little place in Louisiana and let's nominate some people from New Mexico and Oklahoma and South Carolina and all these like places that didn't get the attention before. Well, it's like, yeah, because, you know, now there are these professionals that are creating fun things, not just in 3 cities. They're everywhere. And so, but at the time it was, well, New York, I don't know anybody. Chicago, my brother's there. I know Chicago because I'd visited there a few times. It's awesome. And so I said, well, we'll go to Chicago. I'm not going back to Oklahoma. We'll go to Chicago. And so I came to Chicago, and it was hard first couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you go from Portland where the winters are 40, 50 degrees and the summers are 75 degrees and it's just perfect climate, to like, oh man, I'm freezing my butt off at the bus stop, you know, in the Loop, you know, waiting to go home. Like, this was a mistake. I want to go back. Like, I miss the big trees and all the nature that's out there. And, you know, but, you know, I love Chicago. Like, I think it's just a great place. So, you know.
What were some of the first roles that you had when you moved to Chicago?
Prep cook, you know, just work your way up the chain.
Yeah.
312 Chicago was the first restaurant I worked at. It was right there. At the time, it was like when Lion King first started playing at the Palace Theater, Cadillac Palace. I don't think it's changed its name since then, but LaSalle and Randolph.
Yeah.
I think the restaurant the space is still there. I think it's still sitting empty. It's been empty since COVID, I feel like.
Oh, wow.
But it was an Italian restaurant. Dean Zanella was the chef. You know, I learned how to cook on a line there, you know.
Yeah.
And it was a theater rush. You would do 350 covers like in an hour. You would just get crushed.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a tiny line. You worked with 3-4 people, and and they would call out orders. It wasn't 4 rigatonis, 3 pennies, you know.
Yeah.
It's just like you had to remember all that stuff.
Is it a love-hate thing of like that pressure?
Yeah, well, I mean, it just depends if you
Like to be on your A game, right? Like,
Yeah,
that's such
yeah.
a good feeling.
You have to want to get pushed.
Yeah.
And want to be like, I want that pressure because I want to prove that I can do it.
Yeah.
There has to be like a sense of competition where you're like, I want to be better than.
Especially if you know someone next to you is on their A game.
Yeah. It pushes you.
Yeah.
And I was working next to a person who, to this day, is probably the best cook I think I've ever, you know, she was barely 5 foot. And, you know, she worked the fish station, the hardest station, and she just perfect temperatures, like never missed a beat. The fish always looked the same, like the same perfect crust. And it just didn't matter how busy it was. She would just nail it. And the days she was off, it would take 2 people to cover the station. It would be a cook and a sous that would be working that station.
Yeah.
And it just, you know, to this day, like, there's just no one that, like, I think that I've seen do like the production so precisely, you know. And then there was a lot of influence from seeing people like her cook to then finally getting to like the grill station. I wasn't getting to the fish station because, you know, nobody was taking her spot. And so I jumped over to the grill, and then you learn how to cook on the grill station and, you know, get temperatures down, and it just, you know, it was fun, you know. And there was some fun sous chefs there at the time, and I learned some things from them. And then you just worked your way up, you know. Went to work at Marché after that, which was a lot of fun. That part of West Loop during that time was, you know, it was fun to be a part of, you know, before it kind of blew up, and it was still kind of a little sketchy where, like, if you parked your car on Fulton, you know, you might get your windows busted out.
Was still very developing.
Yeah,
around that time.
So, but yeah. You know.
Interesting. So where was your head at? Like, moving more closer towards fine dining, or where was your trajectory?
Think it was partly get good at this, learn how to do it well. You know, I'd always thought the ultimate goal was to open up your own place. So it was just do this as well as you can, learn how to cook the flavors, the seasoning. Making money was a big part of it, you know, choosing jobs that paid the rent, you know, and helped me, you know, save some money. You know, I'd always had that, you know, the fantasy or do I go work at like those places that pay you the shift pay, you know, $85 for 16 hours, you know, and you're working at a amazing place.
Because you're learning so much.
Yeah, you know, you're giving up this stuff, and it's just like, I would do stages in those places, and I'm just like, throughout the stage, I would be like, this is cool, but I don't want to be here. Like, it wasn't worth it to me. Like, no matter how much I would like want to be a part of that, when I was a part of it, it just didn't click with me.
Yeah,
I
that's
just
so
felt
interesting.
Like, I don't know if I valued free time more than, that, or it just, looking back, even just looking back a day or two after the stage, I would be like, oh, that would be a fun place to work. But then, you'd do the math and be like, well, I would have to get a roommate, or I'd have to live at a certain thing, or do this or do that. And it's just like, I kind of like working at 312 Chicago. I liked working at Marché. I was doing a good job there. I liked the people I worked with. And so I never took that route that some cooks take, where they're like, yeah, I'm going to give up 2 or 3 years, and live with 4 or 5 people in a 2-bedroom apartment, and so that I can be a part of, those awesome, amazing places. And I think I chose the right path for myself. I like where I've ended up, and the friendships I've made along the way, and the restaurants that I've worked with, and so just there's a lane for everybody, I guess.
There is, like, excellence doesn't necessarily have to be executed at that level.
Yeah.
Like, excellence can be found in other areas as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, you can still have a fast casual, like, diner concept and be excellent.
Yeah, the bite that you take can still be as flavorful as the bite you take at, the 12-course tasting menu that you're spending, $500 on. Like, sometimes you take a bite of that stuff and you're like, this looks amazing, but doesn't really taste like much, And so sometimes it's amazing. You're like, wow, this is an experience. A part of the experience is the service that you get, and like being treated like a king. Or, you can get a bite that's more flavorful just sitting in a counter service place with, where the owner is taking your order,
I also wonder, at those high level places, how much of the work that goes into each menu item could go over the consumer's head.
Yeah.
Because they either don't have the experience or the verbiage to even like acknowledge and appreciate like what's in front of them.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a big part of it. If you don't know or haven't trained your palate, or don't realize that the cool thing about that dish was the textures, the different textures that they put together, or you just taste sourness when it's really just, trying to get a different type of balance where there's a little more acidity. I've been to dinners, gone out to places with people, and it does go over their head where they're just like, man, I don't get it. I would rather just have chicken fingers, and French fries with some honey mustard,
Yeah.
And it just, there definitely is. I think, you go all the way up to the food scale, like, it doesn't matter how much money you have, if, that's not your thing, dining, like, you're not going to get it. Like, you may go to Alinea and be like, meh, I don't want to eat a balloon, I want to eat a burger. And then someone who, has spent time and money and experience, and that's their thing, is going out to eat, get that and go. They get it and they go, oh, I get what it took to execute this. Like, this is amazing. This was an experience. It's like, to me, it going out to eat is like going to amusement park for a kid. Like, it's just, as a kid, you go to amusement park, it's fun. Well, I like going to that tasting menu for fun. To me, that's like, it's exciting as it was going to a roller coaster. We recently went to Carino with, I took a couple of guys. Yeah, I took a couple of,
was it the a la carte or the taco omakase? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It just, because it fit our schedule and the price was right. I wanted to take a couple of guys from, the guy that kind of leads the kitchen in Ragadan, and the guy that runs the kitchen at Pizza Pie. It's like, let me do something nice for them.
Yeah.
Let's go get the taco omakase. It's right down the street. It's after we work. It starts at 10. And, they loved it. Like, it just blew them away. One of the guys was like an old he's not old. I want to say old. He's my age.
Wouldn't have done this on their own.
No. When I asked him when we first started working together recently, we worked together in the past 15 years ago.
Wow.
But I had asked him, where do you go out to eat? What do you do to eat?
Yeah.
He's like, I go to, he's like, I don't really go out. I was like, what about when you want to go to like a fun place? You take your family out to eat. He's like, we go to Mitiera or something like that. And he said, well, that's fine. I like that place too. But it's, like, he's not going to go out to those places. Like his, fine dining place is the place down the street, which is delicious, but so I said, well, let me because it's research and development too. You want to see like, okay, you get that dining experience, you get that service given to you.
How do you give it back?
Yeah, you go back to the rrestaurant and you go,
I'm inspired.
Yeah, I'm inspired. I want to give a customer, so there is a value in spending, $500-600, and going out and showing these people what it's about. Like, hey, this is what we do, but at a really high level, and we can still give this service to people. You can still give this attention to people. It doesn't have to be in that vehicle. It can be on a pizza. It could be on a burger. As long as you acknowledge the customer, you give them, some attention, and you're just aware of that they're standing there and they need something, and that can be enough. Customers walking out the door with, a burger wrapped in foil that he didn't finish. Hey, do you need a bag? Can sometimes it throws the customer off. Oh yeah, I'd love it. And it's just like you leave them with that, that person. Yeah, they're watching me. They're seeing what we're doing, and so. Yeah, it's there's all different levels of it.
It's important, and you want to be in the headspace to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So whether that's systems or teams, or a smaller space, like to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And through this little dialogue, I don't know how I forgot, but to mention, but like Zubair and Jacob at Coach House and right behind Lilac Tiger, like the intimate dinners that they would have over there gives them an opportunity to do some storytelling behind each dish.
Yeah.
So it's like the chef isn't hidden behind a kitchen. It's like you're in front of them.
Yeah. No, 100%. Yeah. It's a part of the show. It is a show. It's like, there's theater and there's acting and there's things like that where people come and they, the show is the performance, and restaurants, have become that too. Most kitchens are open kitchens because it's a show. Like the customer wants to see you, working, and they think it's fun and cool, and it's like, wow, look at them. The Ragadan is tiny. Like it's 750 square feet. And so customers come in, and on busy nights, we're getting our butts kicked, and like each order is gonna take 20 minutes, maybe a little more, but the customer is standing there and watching, and me in my mind, I'm thinking, oh crap, they're pissed off. Like nobody wants to wait 20 minutes for a burger, and we're pushing hard to get it out, and we put it in a bag, and when that happens, we get a little baklava, put the baklava on the bag, and say, here, thank you for being patient. There's a baklava for you. Oh no, I had fun just watching. You guys are like so fun to watch, and I'm like, oh, thank you. Like it was painful, but thank you. Like it's not what we were aiming for, but I appreciate you. Enjoying the show, and like at least it's like, yeah, I'm making you wait 20 minutes, but some people enjoy that. I mean, most people don't. I'm sure there are people that are just like, oh, screw this, I'm not coming back. I don't want to wait 20 minutes. And that's fine. It's like,
in this case, wait, call ahead.
Yeah, order online. And I think a lot of people have learned that with us. We've seen a lot more of the business shift to online ordering, just even for pickups through our website, because, people have realized, like I've noticed the customer that comes in on Friday night, Saturday night regularly, and it's like, you're getting the 20-minute wait. It's Friday at 7:00. Like it's just we're just rocking. If you don't want to sit there 20 minutes or 15 minits, order ahead. And so I've slowly seen those customers that do that now just come in, and it's like, Mike's here. And so it's like, who's
they know.
Mike? I don't realize who Mike is, but when he comes in, I go, oh, there's Mike. He used to wait. Now he learned to just do it online and come pick it up. And we're not McDonald's. I think people accept that.
Yeah, there's also probably some psychology or added curiosity. If someone is going to pay a certain amount for a menu, I think that type of person would be even more inclined to be curious about what they're about to consume. And so if there was that bandwidth to provide some backstory or backdrop about either where this was inspired from or the effort that goes into making this dish, I think they would love that.
Yeah.
Like, and there's an authenticity and sincerity to that, and I think they would love that. It would just add to it, and then they become your PR. They become like, oh, I had such a great time in Ragadan. Like they just put on this Monday night or whatever night, private menu, and I had mansaf, and I'm like, yes, I would go back. You should go.
Yeah. No, it saves us definitely. I mean, if we were standing there having a conversation about whatever it was, and customers waiting 20 minutes, and we're just like blah 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 blah, they would be like.
I'm sure there are people like that, but I'm sure I think there are more curious people.
Yeah, they see you working hard, and they go, yeah, we like. Those guys are getting their butts kicked. We can wait 15 minutes. Yeah.
Awesome. Is there anything that like you have this like platform now, but anything you want people coming into Ragadan to know about Jordanians or like the food or the culture or I don't know, anything at all?
Yeah, I mean, it's diverse. Like, it's diverse. Like it is not just one. It's just not one thing like everything. It's people can look at the country and say, oh, that's an Arabic country, or it's majority this religion. It can be more like the flavors are different from Jordan to Lebanon to Syria to Iraq to all the surrounding countries. It just it is diverse. There's different types of cuisine and seasoning and people, and so don't be upset like if it's not what you expected. Like we don't serve a halal menu, and it's not because it's not for any specific religious reason. It's just because I created a menu that reflects what I grew up eating. And so I think we have upset a few people who see all the attention around the burgers and then get upset that the burgers are not halal. And we get that call a lot. Is your burgers halal? No, I'm sorry. Oh, and sometimes customers come in, and one person got upset with me and said, oh, that's deceiving. And I said, well, why is that deceiving? And she was like, well, I just, it's almost like I knew what she wanted to say, but she didn't say it. And I was just like, well, Christians come from Jordan too. It's not all, and I'm sorry that I'm not serving halal burgers, but, I'm serving what I know, and what I grew up eating. And I think that's what makes this space special. And that's what I want to share with people is, what I grew up with and what I know and a different take on it. Jordan is not just one country with one identity and one thing. It's several things. And this is just one part of what I want to show you. Like this is that. So don't be upset. You can try other things. We do have some halal options. The grilled chicken, anything that has grilled chicken on it will be halal. It's just a better product. I've found that the way it's slaughtered, the way it's handled, it's done more carefully, and so it tastes better. The burgers, we had them specifically designed for what I was looking for. It's a blend of meats, and the butcher that I work with and I like, created this blend with, with some direction from us. Like, hey, can you do it? Can we do it this? Can we get some short rib in there? Can we get some of this in there? And so, things were designed for a reason, and I think, just to be open about what, I don't serve mansaf, so don't be upset, and don't say that this is not a Jordanian restaurant because I don't serve mansaf. We're a sandwich shop, it's basically, we're serving street food. Like, you don't eat, mansaf on the street. It's a traditional family dish that you eat with, for an events, for your wedding, for, special occasions. And so, this restaurant is what it is, and we don't want to dress it up as something else that it isn't. And, it was designed that way for a reason, just to reflect, my experience.
Yeah.
And, I hope people understand that and, are willing to, to give it a chance.
How when we were like navigating the entrepreneurship journey, like how instrumental or formative was your wife in this?
Yeah, I mean, she's my partner to this day. Like she is heavy on the production side.
Oh, okay.
Like she is just a hard worker and just knocks things out. And I couldn't have done any of it without her help. And she's there to this day. It is a big part of it, and is a big part of the pizza place. She has a ton of experience working pizzas and restaurants, and so she's a big help there. She works several days a week with me at Ragadan and a couple days at the pizza place. Wow. And I wouldn't have been able to do it without her.
Yeah.
And so I mean, I would say it's the next person in line when it comes to an importance, like how, who helped you create this? It's like, well, she did, and she helped me sustain it, and if we've done anything well or made anyone happy, it's because, her work and John's work and Jose's work and Karina's work and Rosie's work and the whole team, like just coming together and to produce this thing. And to buy into it, and to just be like, buy into serving, something as good as you can serve it. Like, we're just doing burgers and fries, but if that bun is too dark, don't serve it. Like the customer, it's going to take another minute to redo the bread, but they're going to be happy. Like they're not going to remember that minute that they waited, but they'll remember the burned bread that you gave them. And so it's like, throw it away, like do it again. Like I don't care if it's 35 cents, throw it in the garbage. The money we save by not serving them something that's burned, by them coming back, it's just, it's a mountain of difference. And then that, it's word of mouth. We're small. We don't have the PR team. We don't have all this stuff. We relied heavily on word of mouth, Google reviews, things like that. Just people being kind enough to go, I had this great experience there. I had this great experience over and over and over again, and then just sending the word. People walking in going, oh, my friend told me this place is amazing. Oh, I don't know how many times I've heard that. Oh, we heard this, we heard that. Or, I don't know why people are talking so much about this. Like, I don't know either. Here's a burger though, try it. See if you like it. So it just, it's a team effort, 100%. Like none of this is done like on my own. My wife is the key member, and everyone else is just as important. Yeah. But, you go home with that employee, so it's like, it's a little different. She has to support you at the restaurant and then give you that support at home, and vice versa. I do my best to support her and give her what she needs and time and freedom to do her thing. And so I think having your own business gives you that independence. We'll close Sunday, Monday. We'll have this day to do our stuff. We'll have that day to do our stuff. We're going to go to, my stepson wants to see a concert in Miami, and it's the middle of December, and he's only 17, so it's like he can't go by himself. Well, let's just close for 3 days, we'll lose us some money, but that was a really fun vacation, going to Miami and having fun, and giving that experience to my wife and my kid, and giving my stepson the ability to go to this place and not do it on his own, to give him some support, to be like, here, we'll pick you up, we'll take you to the show, your friends can come, we'll get this Airbnb. It was one of the better vacations we'd had,
Nice. Yeah.
And it came about because of some concert that he wanted to go to in Florida. And so it's just like, if I worked at a place and I told them I need to take December 12th through the 15th off, they're like, that's like the busiest week of the year, dude. Like, you're not going nowhere. Like, it's just from Thanksgiving to New Year's Eve, there is no time off. But we can go, you know what? We'll just close. We'll close for a week on 4th of July because...
But like what's interesting is like, what if now you're in a position to approve or deny that for a team member?
Yeah.
Isn't that,
Yeah.
And it's just like, but then you remember how meaningful it was for you.
Right. And
you can now change things. You can change culture.
Well, you do it. You just go, you take the time off. We'll figure it out. And just by being such a small team, we don't run into, too many things like that.
Yeah.
When you get 10, 15, 20, 50, 100 employees, you're going to deal with that every day. But when you work with the same 3 people for a few years now, it just, you just don't run into too many of those issues.
Yeah.
And if you do, we're this big. Like, we can do it. Like, my wife can come work. Jack can go with his godmother who likes to watch him, who lives around the block. Like, it just, there's the ability to manage
proximity
things like that.
is a great thing.
Yeah,
whether that's between family or friends or between home and work.
Yeah. And the size of the place too, and that there's no investor going, what do you mean? You guys are going to take a cut this month?
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Was that ever a thought? Or was the thought, I do not want to have an investor?
The thought was, I do not want to have an investor. I tried. I spoke to some people. What they wanted, I felt was too much. A little bit of it was ignorance on my part, where I felt like a business that was not open and not generating any money was worth way more in my mind than what an investor thought it was worth.
Oh.
The investor would say, well, you don't have any sales. You can't prove to me that this concept even works. So what you believe 10% is worth is not even close to what I believe 10% is worth. And so, okay, well, I guess that's not going to be an option. And then, certain things happened where, I just was, when you're pushed to make something happen, you can make it happen, so you figure out a way to make it happen, and it just comes to life, and you stick with it. I mean, there were several days where it's just like, just keep doing it. It'll get better. Just keep doing it. Like, I don't know where the money's coming for the rent this month. We'll figure it out. And sure enough, something happened where you figured it out, and you just keep trucking and keep going and the hard days, you just, it'll happen. You just keep pushing.
Yeah. There's so much truth in that, in the sense of like finding, sometimes it's like life doesn't have to be as romantic as you make it out to be.
Yeah.
And there's truth in just making a decision in the work and doing the work, no matter what that vessel is. And life seems to just work out through that.
Yeah.
With social media these days, like, there are a lot of people doing a great job. I haven't met the guy, but he did it. He came into Ragadan, Tommy.
Yeah.
I loved his way with words is beautiful. And when you get these influxes of reviews and trends start popping off, I think the truth in the work and how the quality of the work comes over time, instead of just trends.
Yeah.
And so, like, how do you really feel when the trends die off and it's a slow day? Do you still want to do this work?
No, for sure. I mean, you have to keep that in mind. You have to tell yourself. I remember the day he came in, I was running around between the two places. It was, I think, the beginning of December, so we were starting a pizza special in December, and so I dropped off a bunch of stuff at Ragadan, and I saw him sitting there with a couple of guys, and right away when someone's sitting there, you're like, oh, that
I've seen you before.
Most of the, not that or you get the vibe where it's like they're doing something. They're doing something. They got their cameras out. Some people bring big setups with lights and things like that. But at first glance, I was like, oh, those guys are doing something. Like, so you don't catch everybody.
Yeah.
We recently had someone in there who was super famous in Chicago, and I didn't recognize them, and so I just walked right by him, and I was like, oh, the kiosk is right there if you'd like to order. He was in that like 11 o'clock, like right as we opened, and it was just like, and he's just standing there staring around, and I'm just like, it's like, I saw my code and I was bringing stuff into the restaurant. I'm like, if you like, the kiosk is available for use. Just let me know if you have any questions. Oh, okay, no problem. But in Tommy's case, like, but I was so busy, and I ran to the pizza place. My wife and the other guys were there. Like, they got it. Whoever it is, they're going to produce, the right thing and give them a good time. And so came back, and then towards the end of it, when I came back and they were finishing up, and how was everything? Great, thank you so much. And then a few days later, the post came out, or his reel came out, and it was just like, it just blew up.
Yeah.
And it was one of those ones where, we saw, a 25-30% increase.
Yeah.
Because people would come in and they'd be like, Oklahoma onion burger, fried chicken and onion rings. Like they would just repeat his order.
Wow.
And so we would see it. Like customers would come in and order that combination of items.
Right.
Just over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
But then you have to tell yourself, there is an up and a down. Like, it is not going to continue, to just get crushed.
Right.
Because those things, they have a shelf life. Like it just, certain ones go viral and certain ones don't. For some reason, his went very well for us. And I think to this day, we still get customers that walk in and are like, oh, what's that? I saw that one thing on the internet, Then I was just like, what was that? Oh, fried chicken and something else. And I know what they're talking about. So, okay, we'll take care of you, blah, blah, blah. And so, it's something, a part of restaurants that just like social media has helped restaurants. Big time. I'm not good at it. I'm not good at creating videos and posting them and things like that. My sister-in-law, helps me with that. And she pushes me, hey, send me a video. Hey, send me a picture. Come on, dude, it's been like 2 weeks. We haven't posted anything. How hard is it to put a video up? Give me a video. Give me. So it's like, okay, let me do something really quick. I just feel awkward taking, pictures of stuff, especially if there's a customer in the restaurant. I'm not going to pull out my phone and do a picture of someone's food as they're watching me. Like, it won't happen.
You just have to trust the process that, like, the work that you're doing will pay off and someone will do the other work, Yeah.
It just, it's a part of the business now, and we got to do it. And we got to send that stuff.
Well, actually, is there anything else you want to talk about? I was going to cut it.
No, I think, we went over a ton of stuff. It's, it could go on for hours, but
I know.
It just,
Where can people find you if you want to be found?
So the location is 4409 North Broadway.
Okay.
That's Ragadan. The pizza place is just a few doors down, 4449.
Nice.
They can get us on internet too. Both websites are the name of the restaurants,
nice.
Ragadan.com,
okay.
pizzapie.com.
Nice.
And the
crazy that wasn't taken.
I would check the domain page since like that name is, I thought of that name like 15-20 years ago.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Because I thought about pizza places for a long time.
Yeah.
And so I would constantly check domain. No, it's taken. And I don't know what happened, but like around 2019, someone let it go.
Oh, wow.
And I checked it and it said $12 a year. And I said, nah, this can't be real.
Okay.
And I refreshed the page, pizzapie.com, $12 a year. I said, I can't believe it's still there.
Yeah.
And
good
so
for you.
it was still there, and I can't find another pizza place called a Pizza Pie, and so.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
There it is.
All right, guys. That is Danny Sweis for you. Give him a big follow. Thanks for tuning in. We will catch you in the next one. Bye.